chord, you know, if you played E minor pentatonic, or just E minor over the F sharp, that'd be like you're treating it like a 2 chord. Then when it goes from here to a C, you could play E minor, which would be treating it like a 3 chord. Yeah, and then what was after that was a G. And then E minor would be like the 6 of G. And then the F major 7. And that would be yeah, that'd be like E minor would be Lydian. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like down a fret from a major 7 chord, and your minor pentatonic sounds like Lydian. So yeah, you could actually do E minor over all of those and play it, and you'd be safe. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Actually, it's kind of like what I mentioned last time. I think about how I wanted a song that was easy to solo over, and so I had that whole weird method. I told you about that, right? All right, cool. Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of an interesting thought like that, where you go, okay, here we have a song, and you know, a lot of it's in E minor, and I want to be able to play over E minor, but I want it to sound fancy, you know. So like, you know what? Let's try that out right now. Let's try to come up with a chord progression that we can solo over E minor with, and I'll just go as my mind takes me. So, like, let's say for example, our first chord is a C major 7 chord. So we're playing E minor over C. That's our chord. And I'm thinking E minor pentatonic over this chord. I always never really liked bossa novas. I hate that sound. So by numbers. I don't know. I haven't. Maybe it's great. It just hasn't got to me yet. Anyway, so if I were doing that, we have this E minor. And now I'm really just thinking pentatonic. And so anything I play, like if I out of habit, like a 9, like, you know, I'm not thinking, what is that in relation to C, you know? Oh, it happens to be a, you know, Lydian. It'd be a sharp 11. But I'm not thinking that way. I'm thinking like, now it's just a passing tone. Same thing if I go like, and I do the blues note, if I'm thinking in E minor. I'm not thinking, oh, that's a flat 7. That's going to sound bad over my C. Because I'm not playing it like it's meaningful. I'm not playing like, well, I'm hearing this chord. There's some instances where we might be able to get away with that. But what I'm doing is I'm treating any of those other notes, like outside the pentatonic, as like not all that credible. You know what I mean? So instead of be like this, and I thought of this as a blues note, but that is no weight on it at all. It's just like a little sass mark. I'm really just thinking pentatonic, you know. If I do, you know, then I still wasn't thinking of C, obviously, because I ended on what would be a flat 9. So maybe I go, you know, we want to end on the pentatonic basically, and then we know we're safe, but we can still play all the other fancy stuff. I ended on the 3rd there, you know. I wasn't thinking like, am I going to end on a 3rd? I wasn't even thinking of C anymore. I was just being very careful not to take liberties, you know, like if I was playing over an E minor 7 chord, I might play E minor pentatonic, and I might go and think of that flat 5 as something that's credible. And I might go and play the major 7, thinking of this. And there I went to like an Aeolian to Dorian, you know, thinking like that. And I'm not going to think that way if I'm in this case of trying to do other, like E minor over other chords. And right now, obviously, writing the progression over the E minor. So, yeah, so C major 7. Let's think of another one. F major 7 would make sense. And then I just do that Lydian because it's now obviously kind of a one chord, 4 chord type thing. Right? So it'd be like C major 7, F major 7, and then maybe I'll do D major 7, or D major. I just got a major triad here, right? Which means the E minor would be a 2 chord, you know? The E minor would be the 2 of D. That's what I was thinking. Like, how would a D work? How could I, well, it would work because E minor pentatonic would be, a whole step above a major chord. So that it's either going to be the 2 chord or it would be the 6 chord if D were thought of as a 5 chord. So essentially, obviously, I've changed key here to go from C major to F major 7 and then to D major 7. And and now when I'm constructing my chord, I can grab anything from that. So like here's a 6/9 chord, or I could do just a regular major 7 or just a triad. So now the progression's like this. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do the second inversion. It's just a detail, but I'm still thinking of as this chord. Maybe the bass player plays that. But here I've got to this. That sounds really cool even. And then to the D. See that? Now I've changed key in a way that's hip with good voice leading. That's pretty neat. Cool. And then, really I'm tempted to. I know, that's what my ear was hearing, but let's think E minor. Next, I could make it, let's do something we haven't done before. Let's do something with A. Like we could do A minor. Because then that'd be like a 2 chord. And E minor would be a 6 chord. Cool. So now I could do an A minor. So I had this to A minor. Maybe there's something cooler voice leading even I could do. Maybe add the 9. And now my progression would go like this. And then I did this. Oh, no, I don't want to add the 9. Because that'll sound like a C major 7 chord again. Right? Or I could just do a triad. But either way, then I have a progression where I got my C chord to C major 7. And then to D. And then to A minor. Like here's my A minor. And there's the note I ended on. And when I'm playing the E minor over the A minor, I'm getting a 9 in there, but I'm not really thinking about that. Then I'm gonna kind of use my ear in a sense where I know that a 9 still works, so it's not an offensive tone. It's just, if I linger on that, it's gonna have that sound, and that's fine, as opposed to that sound, which is a little more consonant. But anyway, there you go, man. That's just an example of 4 chords, right? Can we try something like that with your B7? Let's try it. So if B7 is the chord, right, or your chord progression, let's say, and we want to be able to play over like, I imagine that would be like the equivalent. We had E minor before. We played E minor pentatonic. We have the B flat 7, right? That's what you said you used, right? So if we have a B flat 7 and we're playing B flat pentatonic, dominant. What would be like a chord we could go to from there? Another one that we can play a B flat pentatonic over. Yeah, F sharp major 7, that'd be good. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. Now, there is a slight trick here, obviously, is that you got to remember that you want to bend the 3rd on the 1. So be like, and then when you go to the next chord, you resolve that down, and that's going to sound gorgeous. Like, oh man, what a badass this guy is. How do you do that, And that, dude, it's gonna be amazing. That'd be gorgeous, man. And cool, man, this is just a harmony. Like you could come up with a riff instead of just, But so what would be another chord we could go to for B flat minor pentatonic scale? Yeah, you could do A flat. Yeah, A flat 7, because you're thinking like now we're playing Aeolian basically. Yeah, you could do that. Right on. Good call. And when you do that, you got to remember that this note is a little bit dangerous because it's gonna be the sus sound. So it still works, but you'll have to kind of let your ear guide you a little bit, or just like a moment of like right now where we just make a note to self on my third chord. I need to be like that instead of that would be dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with this one. So another thing is if you were to or this one, my bad. So this would be cool. That'd be your root. Another thing you could do is if you were to bend that one, like you did on your first chord, that's going to make it be a sharp 11. Or a flat 5. It'd be like your blues. So something to think about. That might be hipper. The 4 itself is dangerous. So now here's an idea. How about for the fourth chord, we do an A major not A major 7, B major, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so we have F sharp major 7, A flat 7, B major 7. Cool. And when I played that, I just did a third inversion. Because my thinking was we had this chord, right? And it'd be cool then if your bass line went here and then you chose this, maybe it'd be cool to go back there, but with a different chord than the original. So we have like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Maybe you could, it's a B chord. You could put a fifth on there. That would make it a little bit more interesting, because then that would resolve down to your B flat 7. So now the chord's like this. That'd be pretty fancy. Cool. And then maybe if you find that that third inversion is, depending on stylistically, like it may be cool, but maybe you would want to do something a little different where you could have, like, instead of one measure of this, 2, 3, 4, you could do 2, 2, 3, 4. And that gives you only 2 measures for your next 3 chords. So you could do 1 measure of F sharp, 2, 3, 4. Then you could take your last measure to divide up your last 2 chords. So, like you could do first 2 beats of A flat, like that. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, that'd be twice there. But yeah. Anyway, you get what I'm saying there? Now the only way, not the only way, but if you were still trying to go, well, you know what? I remember that they used one chord for a whole bunch of chords, like, you know what I mean? Like one shape. We might be able to do something similar to that. For example, with another student of mine, we were going through the Scott Henderson book. I'm really going through it. We just chose one chord out of it, and it was a chord that works for major 7, minor 7, and dominant 7 chords. So I'll show you the shape. It's where to start with it. I'll do it we'll do the high note first. Go ahead and put your pinky on the 6th fret of the high E string. All right, and then make sure I remember this. I think that was that. Yeah, that was it. Okay, so it's gonna be index finger on the 2nd fret of the B string, ring finger on the 5th fret of the G string, and then middle finger on the 3rd fret of the D string. Cool? Okay, so how this shape works, right, is that this one can be used for all those chord types we talked about. So here's what you have to remember. If the pinky is on the root of your chord, it's minor. For example, this would be an a B flat minor chord. Okay, so maybe this might want to jot this down. Just say like maybe jot the shape down. I'm gonna send this to you anyway. So that's right. You don't have to worry about it. Anyway, so the point is, this is if you got your pinky on the root, it's a minor 7 chord or something you can use in place of one. All right, cool. So now. The dominant chord is if the pinky is on the 5th. So that means this would be a D sharp. There's a 9. Yeah, okay, so it'd be a D sharp chord. D sharp 7. That's what Henderson has in place of a dominant chord. So obviously it's got, scale tones and stuff, but you can use this in place. That's the idea. So if your pinky's on the root, it's for a minor chord. If your pinky's on the 5th of the chord doing the shape, then it's going to work in place of a dominant chord. What we have here is we have our 9. We have a 13. We have the 7 over here with our index finger, and we have the 5th. So what we don't have is a 3rd or a root. So a bass would be really nice to have in there. And actually, you know what? In the Steely Dan tune, they did chords like in the chorus, it was a bass player that was doing the bottom end that really made the sounds complete. So anyway, root, it's minor chord. 5th, it's dominant chord. And for major 7 chords, the high note needs to be either the 3rd or the 6th. And I remember those as in like, oh yeah, the imperfect consonants is the 3rd or the 6th. Those would be for major. And the perfect consonants would be for minor or dominant. But anyway, so if we were going to try to, how Steely Dan did this, where they're like,